Good morning. This is KZSC News. I'm Adelaide Carlson. Today we have two stories for you. We'll take a behind-the-scenes look at how KZSC has been impacted by COVID-19 in Santa Cruz. You may have noticed some changes in the way our shows sound. We'll explain why. But first, California News Service and KZSC News have a report on how the coronavirus has affected Santa Cruz County Juvenile Hall. There have been fewer youths in Juvenile Hall in recent weeks. Katya Damian of KZSC News has the story.
A new 30-state survey of youth detention centers shows that the number of incarcerated youths dropped by almost 1/4 in March. The survey from the Annie E. Casey Foundation reports a decline in juvenile detention bookings and an increase in releases from detention. In March, during the onset of COVID-19 shelter orders, there was a 29% decrease in the rate of bookings, according to the study. There was also an 11% increase in releases in March. Nate Bayless of the Casey Foundation says young people have a better chance to get back on track when they are diverted from the juvenile justice system. Programs that emphasize addiction recovery, therapy, and reconciliation with victims are effective, Bayless said.
Maybe we are finally really right-sizing juvenile detention in this country. We could emerge from the pandemic with a detention population that truly is young people who pose an immediate community safety risk, rather than all kinds of young people who are not a risk to public safety.
The survey included data for more than 300 detention centers that participate in the Casey Foundation's Juvenile Detention Alternatives Initiative. The downward trend in juvenile bookings also happened in Santa Cruz County in March. Juvenile Hall here typically houses 15 youths. It's down to 10 in March, said Fernando Giraldo, Chief Probation Officer for Santa Cruz County. Giraldo, who also runs Juvenile Hall, says this shows that alternatives to detention can be pursued without jeopardizing public safety.
Yeah, we realized that there were kids pre-COVID that were sitting in detention, waiting some, placement to a program or trying to find a suitable local place for them. And they were just kind of waiting. But then COVID came and somehow the core partners and stakeholders worked together, I think, much more rapidly and found ways to get those youth who weren't a serious threat out of the juvenile hall into a safer location. So I hope that those same practices post-COVID can continue.
Giraldo said that there have been 0 COVID cases in Juvenile Hall among youth and staff. The same is true of Santa Cruz Main Jail, authorities said. Some other changes in our county's Juvenile Hall have been a shift to online classes. There are also no more in-person visits from family or friends. They're by video or phone only. State leaders and juvenile justice advocates have worked hard to reduce the number of young people behind bars. Although some credit can go to reduced crime rates because of shelter-at-home orders, Giraldo also recognizes the importance of finding alternatives to incarceration.
Well, we don't want to go backwards and say, oh, okay, now it's safe. Let's start holding these youth. Because if we don't have to now, then why would we? Or why did we have to do that before?
This is Adelaide Carlson. I'm the News and Talk Director at KZSC. Radio is an essential service in California, to the relief of everyone here at KZSC. We are still working hard to provide you with new content. However, almost nothing has remained the same at the station due to COVID-19. Immense adjustments have been made, and some have come easier than others. We want to give you a behind-the-scenes look at KZSC and its operations in the time of coronavirus. 3 main things have been altered due to coronavirus and our county's rules. The first change. Because most of our student DJs aren't on campus, about half of the shows you hear on KZSC have switched to remote broadcasting. That means they record their shows at home, then they are played during their time slots. But many of the shows have remained live. Shows like Joy in the Morning, 2 Steps from the Blues, and Closet Free Radio. The second change. There can be only 2 people in the station at once. Normally, on a school day afternoon, there might be 10 or more students at the station as volunteers, so it's a lot quieter. The third change: all other gatherings at the station are now done through calls and video. That means staff meetings, sifting through new music, volunteer tasks, and the introduction to broadcasting class aren't done as a group or in person. The introduction to broadcasting class is a mandatory class for KZSC staff members. It teaches students how to be on-air DJs. KZSC is a student-run station. It's headed by 7 students on the executive committee, also known as XCOM. That committee, along with the broadcast advisor, are responsible for keeping the station afloat. I spoke to people on the committee about their jobs and the impact of coronavirus on the station. Duncan Ober is the station manager.
It's been really wonderful that we've been able to keep as many of our DJs as possible, still producing fresh new radio content every week and then uploading it. I think we're one of the few college stations that are still doing it, so it's been really important to get that work done. But it's been something new for all of us, and it's been kind of a learning process as we figure out how we're gonna make this work.
The DJs record their shows using software called Audio Hijack. From there, students on the executive committee, like me, upload it for broadcast. Here's Ober again.
And we collect the files from those DJs, and we upload them into a scheduling software that continues to air them on time. So the DJs aren't live anymore, but they're still producing new shows every week, which is really what it's all about. I think given the challenges, we've all done our best, and I really couldn't be happier with what I'm hearing on the air and things like that. But it's definitely it's a unique set of challenges and plenty of new things to learn, and we're all continuing to get better at the systems.
KZSC's broadcasting class, that is essential to training new DJs, has gone entirely online. I spoke to Valerie Hara, the class teaching assistant, about how that has been working exactly.
I think the one thing that's different is there's always this kind of familial bonds type thing. I don't know how to describe it. At the very end of each quarter with the class, they're all friends, and I don't know. I think that aspect is not there in this class, and it's not really by fault of anyone. It's just the fact that we're not in person and we're not together, and that's probably the part that I miss the most, is just kind of getting to know everyone, seeing them around, whether it's UCSC or the station or what have you. That's kind of sad. No matter what obstacle that is thrown at KZSC, we're going to get through it with internally, with within ourselves, and as a community. It's been really cool to just be a part of meetings and the staff meeting. Everyone's just oh my god, I miss you. And Gov Board XCOM meetings, we're working every day just to kind of make sure there's this fluidity, and there's there's always something going wrong in this sense, a technical thing and whatnot, but the fact that someone's always stepping up to help remedy it or what have you, it's reassuring.
KZSC operates almost entirely on volunteer power. Volunteers review and catalog music that gets sent to the station. They also review live shows for our blog and help out around the station. Because no students are dropping by the station out of curiosity, there are fewer volunteers. Fewer volunteers means no new DJs coming in. Students have to do 20 hours of volunteer work at the station before they can take the Intro to Broadcasting class. In the class, they're mentored to become DJs, so that whole pipeline has been derailed this quarter. Jose Domingo is KZSC's volunteer coordinator. He is responsible for recruiting new students to get involved with KZSC.
All the randomness and all the sort of impulsivity is gone now. I can't just rely on people to just show up to the radio station and think about what they want to do. A lot of the times I have to schedule something with them, which is really hard, and I have to cooperate with other governing board members to make sure that they are communicating with volunteers, and that's even harder to manage. The entire social aspect, the entire putting ourselves out there is now gone, which sucks because I kind of made myself a more sociable person for this job. We have to do everything on Zoom. A lot of the times people's schedules don't line up, and I can't just get people by accident through Zoom like I used to.
One bright spot could be KZSC's programming for summer quarter. It starts June 22nd. KZSC hopes to have more student-produced shows than a typical summer. Sierra Grindstaff, KZSC's program director, explains why.
During the summertime, we usually have a hard time filling up a full schedule, but I think as we're able to provide more trainings, we can have people produce programming from their room while they're home over the summer, and we can still have a lot of new shows over the summer, and we can still put out new stuff.